FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority. The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when he signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's a price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like the fight that you're itching for.
Welcome to Armed Alabama. Glad you could join us tonight. We've got a good show for you. Of course, as always, this is the show where we discuss your self-defense, firearm and ammo selection, home protection, concealed carry, range etiquette, proper training, and of course, the law. Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, and federal law. If you have a comment or a question that you'd like to have us address tonight, give us a call here at the studio, 251-343-0106. You can call or text to that same number. If anything that you have to add, or if you have a question or a comment about latest news or carrying a firearm, or home protection, just give us a call here, 251-343-0106. Be sure to check us out on our Facebook page where we are simulcasting live here in the FM Talk 106.5 studios. And you can check us out on our Facebook page, and that's Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. Please like and save and follow while you're there. That way you'll be notified every time that we go live on Facebook pages when we broadcast in the studio, or every time that we post content, video, or news. Again, we can follow us on Twitter, and that's just simply Armed Alabama 106.5. And, of course, you check out our YouTube channel, and that's Armed Alabama. And you can subscribe and hit that bell icon on our YouTube channel, and you'll be kept up to date on everything that we post. And, of course, our website is armedalabama.com. You can listen to our previous shows there. We have a lot of our shows that are uploaded to our website, and you can listen via podcast. You can listen via work or internet. And you can hear us right here on FM Talk's own website where they simulcast our show as well.
That's FMTalk1065.com.
Thank you. If you have a comment or a question during the week or something, or maybe you want to provide a good subject for our next show, you can email me, Adam, at armedalabama.com, or you can email the judge at armedalabama.com. And we welcome your input, because I couldn't tell you how many times we had a show where it was initiated by a comment or a question that we received either via email or via Facebook. Of course, as always, we want to thank our sponsors, McCoy Outdoors, Ace Hardware Stores, Spring Hill, Creola, and Moffett location, Law Office of Matt Green, Hanson's Heating and Air, Mike Ward's Liberty Safe. We also want to thank the Steve Moore Law Firm. So without these sponsors and advertisers, we wouldn't be on the air here. So make sure you tell them you appreciate it and patron our sponsors. So in a little bit, we're going to have a guest join us, and he's a regular on the show here, and we look forward to hearing from him. But I also want to talk about just some local news. And one of the things that surprised me, even after everything that's going on, Trump's approval rate is at 48%. It's kind of fluctuating. It's going up, it's going down, but it really took a bump after the State of the Union address.
You know, I really have a problem. We have the, I want to call them talking heads. I don't want to call them journalists because they really aren't. A lot of them really aren't, despite what it says on their diploma. And but anyhow, and Fox is also guilty of this. They'll toss out, they'll say, so-and-so's got, this issue's got a 48% of the Americans dislike this issue. And we're supposed to accept that as gospel. Well, if it's the New York Times that did it, or the Washington Post, or CNN, or Fox on the other side of the spectrum, how do we know how accurate it is? Where were the people that took part in the poll? Have you been polled lately for some of these issues?
Never.
You know,
never.
And so if I want to get a poll to come out a certain way, I'll just do it all on Manhattan. And it'll come out much more of a liberal bias than if I did it in Birmingham.
Absolutely. I think that was a case in point with the 2016 election.
Oh, absolutely.
And how Trump won, and then every one of the talking heads standing around and scratching their head. Well, how did this happen?
You know, and as a former reporter, I have to tell you that I enjoyed election night because as you watch different television networks coverage, they obviously had all these guests lined up ahead of time that were going to talk about Hillary was going to be doing this and that and the other. And all of a sudden, all of that just went away. Now, how do you fill the next 12 hours or 24 hours when you've got to scramble around because the whole story changed? You know, so anyhow, that was my view of the media. But don't accept poll numbers. I'm not talking about the approval poll. I'm talking about predominantly issues. You know, well, 49% or 52% of Americans think we are a nation of immigrants. Let them all come in. I don't know that that's true. And how strong is that percentage? You know, if somebody said something and the percentage shifted 10 points the next day, it doesn't mean anything. But they use it like it's gospel.
Well, also the wording.
Oh,
the
sure.
wording, in a way, that a lot of those polls are set is construed, and it's done so, I think, to construe polls itself, depending on
kind of like the way
CNN or Fox or you know, the major polls like Rasmussen or whatever.
Kind of like the way they word the ballot questions about whether we won a lottery or a casino in Alabama.
Yeah.
That's one of my pets.
That's a good point. All right, so let's go to the phone lines. Here we have Adam calling in from Wiggins, Mississippi. Hey, Adam, welcome to Armed Alabama.
Hey, fellas, how y'all doing tonight?
Doing
good.
well.
Well, I got kind of a sad one for y'all. Here a couple weeks ago, somebody went into my dog pen and beat my dog to death.
They beat your dog to death?
That's correct. They beat his head in. And, I mean, that's a pretty sad situation in and of itself.
Well, first off,
obviously nobody was there.
Did you call the police and file a report?
I did. They told me that they thought he had either choked on a pine cone or been snake bit. But considering the dog pen looked like a horror movie back there and the skull was busted in, I don't think that's a snake bite or a pine cone.
No, it doesn't sound like it. Are you in a rural setting or are you kind of in town?
I'm out in the woods. But I guess what my question is would the dog be considered property, or does it hold the same value as a human life there?
No, I would think it would
it
would just be property to be purchased or to sell. Now, say if said dog was AKA registered, you know, whatever type of breed, some of those breeds can be, AKC registered, some of those breeds can be quite expensive. So with that, depending on laws, you talking about there in Mississippi, I'm not sure if it's how much is a threshold to be a felony. But that's something that can be taken into account. I don't know if your dog was that, but it can definitely. I'm sorry?
So, yeah, he was a German Shepherd.
Well, I was asking about if you were in a city or not, because maybe a neighbor was annoyed because he was barking. But if you're out in the countryside, that is not an issue.
Yeah. Well, I live in a cul-de-sac.
Adam, can you hold on and we can continue this after the break? Because we have to take the break. Is that all right, Adam?
Thank you.
That's
Appreciate
fine.
you calling in, Adam.
Yeah.
And we'll address it after the break. Thank you, sir.
Because if you lose your head and you give up, then you neither live nor win. That's just the way it is.
All right. Welcome back to Armed Alabama. We still have Adam on the line from Wiggins, Mississippi. Hey, Adam. Thank you for holding through the break.
Hey, Adam, no problem, man.
Hey, did you have somebody that you've been having disputes with lately?
No, I hadn't. And I kind of kept it quiet there in the cul-de-sac just to see if anybody would say anything. And I finally did, after a few days, go out and start asking around. And I really don't think it was anybody directly close to me, because they're crazy, they're not stupid. And I don't know, everything points. The only two logical conclusions I could come to was somebody was either trying to steal something, and he started barking, and they killed him to shut him up, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. It would have made even more noise. Or it was just a teenager that did it out of just pure meanness. Because there was there was evidence of his head being beat in, but there wasn't anything there that looked like they might have used. Whatever it was, they took it with them.
Yeah, and you may not ever know the answer to this.
No, and Adam, the best thing you can do here is you already done the right thing as far as calling the police and letting them make a report. Of course, you want to be a little more vigilant, just in case somebody was casing your house or whatever, to come back
and get another dog
to steal something or whatever. But that's my only suggestion to you right now is just keep an eye out and be vigilant. Of course, anything happens in regard of theft of property, anything, then you definitely need to call the police again and have them make a report. So I appreciate you calling in. We got to move right on. Got a busy show already. Next in line, we have Glenn Ramos. Hey, Glenn, thank you for joining us.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Doing good, Glenn.
Hey, great to hear you guys. Adam, Judge Rusty. Yeah, I apologize I cannot be there today, but I have the proverbial honeydew list to do today, so I'll be on the show today.
Well, that's perfect. Well, we're glad you could.
Adam and I would not know what that means.
It's perfect. We're glad you could join us, and even though you couldn't join us in the studio, glad you could join us anyway, because you had some really pertinent things to discuss. So
and before I go on, I like to. My heart goes out to your previous caller, Adam, over in Wiggins. I'm calling here from Gulfport, but I'm a dog owner myself. And let me just say, if anyone touched or harmed my dog, I would go ballistic.
Yeah, because for a lot of people, the dog is just a part of the family.
Absolutely, my dogs are a member of my family. They're an integral part of my family. So my heart goes out to Adam over there in Wiggins. So. But today, why I really want to kind of go over today and just kind of discuss a little bit is, I think you kind of harped on it a little bit, Adam, as you were discussing the nature of polling.
Well, I didn't want to steal your thunder on anything, so.
No, absolutely not. And you did. It was actually a great segue because one of the things that's really on my mind these days and is the fact of how negative. First thing is fake news and how negative mainstream media is against our president, Donald Trump. Right now, you could go to different websites, and right now over 90% of mainstream media coverage is negative against Donald Trump. There's nothing positive. Even Fox News to some extent, has covered some negative issues on Donald Trump. It's just amazing what they're covering here. And, I talked to my, if you will, Facebook friends, if you will, online, and, they're always harping on the negativity that's being spewed by mainstream media. Case in point here, look what's happening right now with this fake news stuff, right? I got various examples here. You can start with what happened over in D.C. with the Covington Catholic high school boys that got demonized by, again, fake news, by the media, saying that they were acting racist against Native American Nathan Phillips, who just happened to be a Vietnam vet. But it was found out that's not the truth, is it? That wasn't true at all. And Nathan Phillips, in fact, was not a Vietnam vet. And if you go to Snopes.com, you actually see down Snopes, they can't make heads or tails on the story. Is it true or is it not true? And we know how Snopes is. Snopes is a very liberal website. So that's one of the things I see. The other thing here, in addition to the Covington Catholic high school boys, is just right now what recently happened with Jussie Smollett. Look at that fiasco. Amazing. You have everybody and their brother, after Jussie Smollett had made claims that two men jumped him, accosted him, and basically said, "This is MAGA country." We come to find out, apparently that was all a big lie.
It was all a setup, absolutely.
A big sham, man. And you had everybody in the media. You had even Nancy Pelosi tweet in, our hearts go out to Jussie Smollett. But then once the liberal left found out, oops, it appears that was a big lie.
And wasn't it convenient that he said they screamed, "This is MAGA country"?
That's right. Yeah. And the report, apparently he said it was two white guys. Apparently, no, it wasn't. According to the police report, it was two black guys.
From Nigeria originally.
I'm sorry?
I think they were originally from Nigeria.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're American citizens.
Exactly. So, for the past week and a half, 2 weeks, this is all you are hearing, that how can this happen in this country? This all avert racism and homophobia because, he's black and gay. Well, come to find out, it wasn't even true, But yet we're made to swallow it and eat it and accept it, And they're trying to put the blame at the feet of Donald Trump because, it's his fault that all this racism is coming out now in America. No, it's not, man. You have a coordinated effort from the mainstream media to demonize this president prior to the 2020 election. Think about it.
And Glenn, you and I talked at length in this regard on how much Trump is just, really slandered. That's the only word you can use, is to be slandered, name called, just vicious from the left and also from the news media. Yeah, but yet his approval rating is still in 46, 48%. And, you and I laugh for a long time that we've been calling him the Teflon Don. And
yes.
And because nothing sticks. They have thrown everything at this president, unlike any other Republican president before him. They have absolutely thrown anything. And as always, the Republican presidents would say, "Oh, well, we didn't, that's not exactly what we said." Trump just comes out and he owns it. Yeah, I said that, and this is why. And this is the reason. And he doesn't back down. He doesn't cower. He doesn't run off with his tail between his legs or whatever. He just stands up to it. And I think that resonates with people. And even after this complete and total broadside, from the left media, he still has very strong approval ratings.
Yes.
And nothing is sticking, which is why we like to call him the Teflon Don.
That's right, man. And you have to figure those ratings are probably a little bit skewed towards lesser numbers anyway. His numbers are probably 10 points above that, more than likely. But you can't present that because we're a year out from elections, right? Or more than a year from elections right now, right? So you have to present him in a negative light. You always have to. You always have to. And quite honestly, going back, if you go back to his State of the Union address, and if you look at the ratings of all the mainstream media networks, coming in dead last was guess who? The Clinton News Network. They came in dead last. How do you come in dead last for the State of the Union address? Because guess what? Trump is their news. That's the only thing that they're hanging on to. That's their lifeline. Without Trump, guess what, folks? There is no CNN. There is no CNN. They have nothing else. And it just a side note, just FYI, and this is quite interesting. The head of CNN, Jeff Zucker, guess who he used to be the head of prior to CNN?
I don't know.
NBC. He was the head of NBC. And guess who was the employee of Jeff Zucker during his tenure there at NBC?
Who was that?
Donald Trump, when he was on The Apprentice.
What about that? It's a small world, isn't it?
And don't believe me. Look it up for yourself. Don't believe me. Research, look it up. But Jeff Zucker was the head of NBC when Donald Trump spent 14 seasons on The Apprentice, making money for NBC. Now, the same guy who was making all this money off Donald Trump is now bashing Donald Trump on CNN. Talk about a turncoat.
Glenn, we've got to go to break here pretty quick.
Okay, understood. Yeah, I have a couple other things, but maybe
Yeah, we'll catch you at the break, Glenn. Stay tuned for more Armed Alabama.
I'm a friend of Sarah Connor. I was told that she's here. Could I see her, please?
No, can't see her. She's making a statement.
Where is she?
Look, it may take a while. You want to wait? There's a bench over there.
I'll be back.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor at all. All right, welcome back to Armed Alabama. Glad you could join us and hang with us through the break there. Again, we still have on the line with us friend of the show, Glenn Ramos, who's always have got a really good points to make and always got a really good opinion on the news. And we have with us hanging on the line for a while now is Mike from Grand Bay. Hi, Mike. You've got a question on the use of deadly force.
Right, and I got two things I want to say. First off, every night through the week, Colbert on his show makes fun of Trump like crazy. If that would have happened to Obama by somebody doing that to him, they'd have been taken off the show.
I can't even watch these so-called
I can't
comics.
even watch him either, man. I can't.
They're not
stand him.
They're not funny.
They're not funny at all. He is deliberately trying to cut down on Trump every night. But anyway, my question is this.
Well, you do know they are smarter than all of us.
Oh, boy.
Just ask
Really
them. They'll
smart.
tell you.
Really smart.
What you got, Mike?
Okay, here's the thing. Over the years, and I have also talked about this in conversations with people, but I've heard people over the years many times say, well, if somebody was going to attack me or try to kill me or something, I'll just shoot him in the ankle or shoot him in the knee. What do you think about that? In other words, if somebody's deliberately trying to kill you, should you, in
Or
other
your
words,
family.
what's the legal implications of just wounding him instead of trying to, do away with the problem, in other words?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Mike. That's a good point. So let me reference the actual code of Alabama that deals with that. Defense of a person's is Alabama 13A 323. And also you can say 323, 324, and 325 is a defense of premises. So with that, my recommendation is, of course, if somebody is coming to attack you, when lethal force is justified, lethal force is justified. So at that point, you don't want to try to take a chance on trying to hobble somebody where they can still come forward or whatever. You want to stop them from doing their dastardly deeds. So you want to shoot to stop. And that's how you would want to frame your statement. I shot to stop that individual from doing their dastardly deeds. So whatever it was to harm you or harm a family member, then that's what you have to do.
Right. And
so, I mean, nobody wants to just overtly kill someone.
Right.
But we definitely want to stop individual who has bad intentions from doing grave bodily harm or even death.
I think morally, people are saying this stuff probably because they were raised Christian like I was. I was raised in the church. And, you know, it's not taught to go out and just kill everybody, but if somebody's trying to kill you, you have to do what you got to do, right?
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be kill, Mike. Right. It could be grave bodily harm. It could be something that maybe, you know, you're a construction worker or whatever, and somebody comes at you with a 2x4, you know, it's whether it be if they kill you or not, you don't know that. But you know that 2x4 is going to do grave bodily harm. It could break arm, it can break ribs, it could fracture your skull. So there's a million different scenarios that we could talk about. But if you're looking for more information on that, especially for Alabama, use of deadly force is Code of Alabama, Section 13A, 23, and 24 and 25. Those are good items to read. So very good question, Mike. Thank you for your phone call, buddy.
I'll get on off here and let somebody else talk.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hey, before we go back to Glenn, what is that? Is that a pamphlet that you have that has?
It's just my notes. It's just my notes.
Okay, because Rusty's always talking about a website, and I never can remember it, but it's something about U.S. laws or gun laws or something. There's a site.
Oh, there's lots of different things. I mean, you can just Google Code of Alabama. Just don't go to some site or whatever out there. Go to Alabama's site. You can Google Code of Alabama. You can go to the state of Alabama's website, and you can read those things verbatim for yourself. And that way, if it changes, then you know you've got the latest revision from the Alabama website. But there are other sites. There's a good Glenn, I think you told me about this one, the CCW app.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good one. And it has a lot of good information there. But again, you're kind of up to somebody else whether or not they keep their app or website updated.
Yeah, there's also U.S. Concealed Carry Association.
Yep, there's a good one. Yep.
Yeah, they will provide you with membership. I believe they'll provide you with a lawyer in case you are in one of those situations where you had to use deadly force.
So I don't know if you have to subscribe to that. I'm sure you have to pay a monthly or a yearly fee or something like that.
Correct. Yeah, it's a subscription basis, a membership basis. Yes.
I got you. So I'm sorry. Before we let you go during the break, you were making a point about the media.
Yeah. No. I actually this kind of goes into my next point where now we're you. The judge, your audience, myself, everyone, the focus was on 2018 elections. Now we need to start thinking ahead to the 2020 elections. And right now we have some Democratic candidates out there. I think there's about 12 or 13 that have thrown their hats into the ring to run for president. Some of these folks are way liberal. Some of these folks are moderate. But the one thing that a lot of them do share in common, some of these folks want a universal basic income. They want a Medicare for all. They want to do away with private health care. They're looking at some of these, 5 or 6 of them have supported the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. But more importantly, it's going to be a major issue in this next election is the notion of how Democrats put it, common sense gun legislation, which ultimately means we want to take all your guns.
Yeah.
That's what that really means.
Yeah, ultimately, yes.
And right now, I think I mentioned today, I sent you an article, Dianne Feinstein and her crew of cronies essentially issued a new bill, really an old bill, an assault weapons ban bill from 1994. they reissued a new one based upon 2019, and they did that kind of under the cover of night during the whole government shutdown thing. It didn't get a lot of press coverage, but your audience needs to be aware of that these Democrats, whoever they are, at the end of the day, are anti-Second Amendment. They are against guns. They don't want us, law-abiding citizens, having access to weapons to protect ourselves as well as family members. They don't want that. They want to take that away from us.
No, and they don't believe in the Second Amendment in its entirety.
Absolutely. Now, of course, they're allowed to have guns with their security. They're allowed to have them. And that throughout history, it has shown us that the elites always have their protection, but the little people do not.
And Glenn, many of them live behind walls.
Yes, and that's the irony, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah,
they can have walls, but we can't.
Yeah, they have their walls, but we can't, especially on our southern border. And speaking of southern border, Glenn, you may have already read about this, but there were Mexican soldiers were ambushed by cartel gunmen. It was yesterday, I believe, just south of Laredo, Texas. And the cartel is really working to inspire terror throughout the Mexican border states. And it's really not being reported, not only definitely by the Mexican media, but it's not being reported so much here in the U.S. media as well. But the Mexican media, they're just scared to report it because of cartel intimidation, where you have coolers of human remains are just dumped out with notes to intimidate local Mexican authorities and media.
Yes.
And
remember what Nancy Pelosi said. She said there is no crisis at the border.
No, there's no crisis at the border. Absolutely.
It's manufactured.
It's some action. It's right. There's nothing to see here. Move along.
Yes.
Move along.
Yeah, exactly.
But let me tell you something. There is a crisis at the border, not only with cartel, but with illegal aliens and drugs, and it's just pouring over and across our borders. And thousands of people that border the states that border Mexico, and then others within the U.S. are paying the price. And especially something that I think a listener actually brought it to our attention a few weeks ago, Glenn, and that's fentanyl.
Yep.
Oh, my God. Let me tell you, if you don't know what fentanyl is, let me tell you, it is a plague. It is absolutely a plague. So, and there are just thousands of people, young people, that are overdosing on this, thinking that it's Oxycontin, which is really is what was kind of, I wouldn't say marketed as, but that's kind of what it is a cheap alternative made in just shamble Mexican labs by the cartel, and is sold here in the U.S., and it's an easy way to get high. It's cheap, it's readily available, but the thing about it, that difference fentanyl from Oxycontin is that it's 3 and 4 times more potent. So these kids are going to parties and they're drinking just like we've always done, but I'm sure with peer pressure or other things, they are taking these fentanyl pills, and that's it. It's lights out.
And
they're dead, and it's destroying families. All right, we'll be back with more Glenn Ramos in Armed Alabama.
Is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it. And I don't like it any more than you, man.
All right, welcome back to Armed Alabama. Just a reminder, we are simulcasting live from our Facebook page, and as Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. Please like and save and follow while you're there. And we want to thank Leo, Dennis, Adam, Brent, Justin, and many others who are following us and watching us on Facebook tonight. So we appreciate you listening to the show here on the radio, and we appreciate you listening in and joining us on Facebook Live. Not in the studio, but on the phone, we have Glenn Ramos is joining us with the show tonight. Hey, Glenn, welcome back to us. Glad you could hang through the break. And you had a couple more good points that you wanted to make before you had to step on out.
Well, no, just to continue on with what you were discussing here on border security, tied to that, Trump has, as president of the United States, he has the legal right, he has the constitutional right to defend all Americans. And in a nutshell, with everything going on in D.C., despite the fact that he called for a national emergency, which is his constitutional right, you have Democrats now trying on the chatter lines, trying to evoke using the 25th Amendment against Trump to bring him down because they have nothing else. They really don't have anything else. The whole Russian collusion story is a complete failure from Roberto El Jerko Mueller. It's a complete fabrication. We all know it. So really the only thing they have to get Trump out of there is they have to say, based upon his actions with border security and calling out a national emergency, the president is not in his right mind. Therefore, we need his cabinet to go ahead and evoke the 25th Amendment to get Trump out of there, because they realize that as long as Trump is there, the Democrats don't have a shot in 2020 for the election. So,
I think that was obvious. Is obvious with the with Trump's speech that he gave for the State of the Union. I mean, because and I think you've seen after the speech. I mean, his poll numbers took a major jump because he talked about during the State of the Union. He talked about the economy. He talked about the numbers. He talked about the jobs. He talked about the growth. He talked about the wage growth. Regular wage growth is rising at a pace that we haven't seen in years.
That's right.
So you want to talk about the it's one thing to create jobs, but when you create jobs and then wage growth on top of that, that's unbelievable. And every time those job growth or job numbers come out, they have to revise them. And when they revise them, they always have to revise them upwards because they're still not reporting them correctly.
That's right.
So like you said, if he gets the wall, then he's done what he said he was going to do.
Exactly. And so far, they said that based on from last year, Trump has approximately completed 70%, almost 70% of his campaign promises. That's unheard of for a sitting president in one term.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, really, you say one term is really, a little over 2.5 years. So,
yes, exactly. That's also true. Gentlemen, thank you so much for letting me being on the show today. I had a great time, and I will say goodbye to your audience. And until next time.
All right, thank you so much, Glenn. Next time you got to be here in the studio.
Absolutely, sir.
All right, you have a good evening. Thank you for joining us here. And just to recap or continue what Glenn was saying, when it comes to the border wall, as we stated earlier, I think before we went to the break, we were talking about fentanyl, just fentanyl in itself and what a disaster it is on the users and what a disaster it's been on American families who've lost children. And these are not druggies or drug out people. These are children from good homes, middle class families that go to party and go to parties and took drugs they really shouldn't have been taking, thinking maybe it was Oxycontin, but only to be fentanyl, and it just has an overdose rate of just crazy. And it's just really destroyed families. And I read, doing research for this show or whatever, I really got angry and aggravated, not only regarding the just the overwhelming overflow of drugs that's coming into the country, but the effect on this on the families and the toll that is paid by these American families. But yet the Democrats say this is not an issue. The border wall is not an issue. There's nothing to see here. But we have thousands of illegal aliens crossing the border, and they commit crimes, murders, sexual assaults, weapons charges, and you try to find numbers on this. So you go to Google or Bing and you run a search number. I challenge you, go and do that. Go to Google. Try to research this, and you'll see all the websites being skewed to say that this is not an issue, there's not a problem. Instead of actually, you have to go for a while before you can actually find something that tells you what the actual numbers are. You try to get to the U.S. government website if you can. For the first time, they tell you what the absolute numbers are. But yet the Democrats say this is not an issue. Nancy Pelosi says this is not an issue. Chucky Schumer says this is not an issue. There's nothing to see here. And I found some statistics here from December 30th, 2017. There were a total of 38,132 known or suspected aliens were in the Bureau of Prison custody. Approximately 46% of those individuals, 17,621, had previously committed drug trafficking or drug-related offenses. 4% of those committed weapons offenses, including firearms, murder, racketeering, any type of criminal enterprising. And of that total number, I was saying 3% were caught with obscene materials such as child pornography. And that comes from human trafficking, bringing children, exploiting children for child pornography. There's nothing to see here. Our border security is not an issue. I found some statistics from Texas. Just in Texas alone, from June 1st, 2011 to April 30th, 2018, there were 1,351 homicides committed by illegal aliens, 9,900 weapon charges, 79,000 assaults, 18,000 burglaries, 79,000 drug charges, 815 kidnappings, and 4,200 robberies. This was in Texas alone. There's nothing to see here, says the Democrats. This is not an issue. But I want to tell you tonight, you're listening to me, I want to tell you that the blood of these American families, the blood of American citizens, the loss and the hurt and the destruction of these families are riding on Nancy Pelosi and Chucky Schumer. Make no mistake, they bear responsibility as long as they do not protect our southern border. This has been Armed Alabama. Join us next week. Thank you so much for listening.